Hello everyone, the Nerdy Steve here, and today I wanted to talk about the Alchemy Horizons Baldur Gate previews that have been going on. They started yesterday, and there were some today, but they had this announcement article, and a lot of people had very, very strong reactions to part of it, specifically this specialized thing. But I want to go over a little bit before I talk about that more in depth. So we have a new mechanic specialized, which I'll get into. Then we also have something called Double Team, which is when a creature with Double Team attacks, if it's not a token, conjure a duplicate of the original into your hand, and then both cards lose Double Team. This is a very, very simple thing. We haven't really seen any amazing cards with it, or really anything interesting, but basically, it's a creature that attacks, you get a copy in your hand, and that's kind of it. Nothing really too exciting yet, but we'll see. And then there's another thing called Boon, which they say is a new MTG arena mechanic, not exclusive to Alchemy Horizons Baldur Gate set. Boon is a way to represent delayed triggers, similar to an emblem, but once they trigger, they disappear. Boons are kind of just a name for something that we've had in Magic for a really, really long time. And I wonder if this is something that they might integrate to IRL if this goes well. So what this boon does is, so they have an example here, which is very, very small target. There we go. It's a little bigger now. Is it? There we go. So, target creature gets +3/+3 and gains reach and trample until end of turn. You gain a boon with, when you cast your next creature spell, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter, reach counter, and trample counter on it. So you cast Archery to make something big, and then the next creature's spell you cast will be bigger. Now, we have this type of ability with things like very similar to IRL Magic, like the Red Saga in Neon Dynasty, where the next creature you cast that turn enters the battle with a +1/+1 counter. We've seen it with the wolf in Alchemy that the next creature enters with a +1/+1, and I think a vigilance and trample counter. So it's not a new effect. Even in IRL Magic, we had always created delayed abilities. I don't think they've ever really lasted longer than a turn, because these boons can stay around for 10 turns until you can trigger it. But this is very, very interesting play space for maybe future IRL stuff, and it wouldn't be surprising me. Like, instead of having blood tokens or clue tokens, maybe you can now have an arcane archery boon and have a lot of effects in a set modify your creatures in a certain way. So I'm actually kind of really, really excited for this, and we haven't really seen anything else playing around in the space in the previews, but I think this is something that might I think it's really, really cool, and it actually kind of gets me really excited because there's lots of things you can do with boons, and by giving it a name, it's a mechanic that we can then use more in alchemy. And again, I think this is something that could lead to an IRL thing. But now let's go talk about this specialty thing going on, right? Because a lot of people don't really, really like it, and I can understand why. So, how Specialize works. And so, first of all, I think a lot of people just saw it and only saw like the back halves of it, and that was a little overwhelming. But look, we have this one creature, Viconia Nightslinger Disciple. It's 2 mana for a 2/3, which, fine. Has one exile target card from a graveyard. Cool. Then it has Specialize too. Now, what is Specialize? When you activate Specialize, you discard a card from your hand, and then you specialize the creature based on the color of the card, if it's white, blue, black, or red, or if it has a basic land type, so mountain, forest, island, swamp, plains. And when you do that, you can specialize. And look, it can become a lot of different things. Now, I'm not going to talk about this card specifically because there's a lot going on, but if you're playing Viconia in your mono black deck, right? It is really only ever going to specialize into this mono black version. And if you play Viconia in your Dimir deck, it's only going to be either the black version, because you can discard a black card, or the blue version, so you can discard a blue card. And I think that is one of the things that was very, very overwhelming at first. Yeah, if Viconia is in your 5-color deck, then it can specialize and it has a lot of options. But I think for the most part, when you are playing with one of these specialized cards and when you're playing against a specialized card, you're not going to be really, really overwhelmed by the possibilities. It's realistically going to be 2 at most, right? And again, there's a lot of text here, but most of it is the same. It just does slightly different things. And I want to go to, this is a card previewed by Amy the Amazonian. And this is a card I think I wanted to talk about a little more because I think we can go through the cards one at a time and talk about it a little bit. And I think this is maybe the card that they could have started off with because I think it's a little simpler. So it's a 2/2 for 3 with Specialized 3. Activate if you only control 6 or more lands. And when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, seek a land card with a basic land type. Okay, we got all of that. This seeks a land, which is another alchemy-based ability. And so it's going to ramp you into being able to specialize her, right? So now, let's say you activate her specialized ability. What do you get if you discard a white card? We have Lucamina, the Hawk form. It is a 4 form, and it has flying and lifelink. And when it dies, it unspecializes. If it unspecializes this way, return to battlefield tapped. So Lucamina is gonna be a big 4/4 flyer, and then when it dies, it comes back as the Moon Druid, right? And this creature, it won't keep on seeking it because it enters the battlefield. It's only if you cast, right? So the idea here is she can go from a basic Moon Druid to the Hawk form, right? And then when this dies, it comes back as this. And now let's say we discard a blue card. And it can become a 4/4 Crocodile. When this specializes, tap target non-land permanent an opponent controls. That permanent doesn't untap during the controller next untap step for as long as you control the crocodile. And so I think we can start to get the idea of how this card works, and I think it's not a lot like the other card that I think was previewed, and this one's maybe a little simpler and easier to grok and more flavorful. So if it dies in the crocodile, it goes back to Lucamina, and you can specialize again. Now the black one must be blocked if able, and it's a 4/4 Death Touch. And see, like, there's just not a lot going on here, and it's very, oh, I know what this card does. It's a 4/4 creature that must be blocked, and when it dies, it turns back. The red one has Menace, and when it specializes into this, you get a 2/2 Wolf. Okay? And then the mono green version is other creatures you control get +1/+1 in trample. So this Lucamina card, I think, is a much better form of the specialized ability, and I think is really, really flavorful and really, really cool. I don't know if it's powerful or not, because when you specialize, right, you are discarding a card from your hand. It's not you're just paying extra mana. You do have to discard a card to get a 4/4 flying lifelinker, right? Now you could theoretically, you're not going to have 6 lands, but you could immediately cast Lucamina, then specialize her, right? If that's what you want. But that's kind of what she's doing, and I think it's really, really cool. I know the specialized cards are getting a lot of hate because they seem very, very, very complicated, and I think because it's a new ability, it's going to seem that way. But I think this card, look, you play her, I'm going to reiterate myself over and over again, and then she can become any of these, but you have to discard the card. And then when she dies, she turns back to do it all over again. And I think that's really, really cool. I think it is intuitive, and I think it's very, very flavorful. And this ability is getting a lot of hate because of how overwhelming it is and everything, and I get that, and I understand that, right? But I do think this is something where we need to play with it first, and then we'll be fine with it, because I don't think it is as overwhelming as it seems at first glance. And I do think, because we talked about this, I do think this card was it is a lot, right? Because this has text where when this creature specializes, conjure a duplicate of target creature card exiled with this into your hand. That is a lot to even understand, and it's really, really weird to explain. Again, you exile cards and then you can get a copy of it, and it does different things with the copies, right? That's the basic idea of it. But this card just is so verbose, and it kind of suffers from like the alchemy effect, where it's just saying a lot of things in magic terms that you don't understand. And I think people saw this card, got overwhelmed, and got really upset. For, again, reasonably or not, I'm not gonna say. But I think this is just Lucamina is just a really, really interesting and wonderful implementation of it, and I kind of wish it was led first so we could understand it more. And yeah. And that's kind of basically all I wanted to say for today. I might be doing another preview or two wrap up, depending on if there's anything else I want to talk about or see. So if that's something you like, let me know. Again, standard's kind of in a lull. Everything is kind of in that weird, we're waiting for rotation period right now. So I'll be doing more standard Alchemy, Explorer, and historic stuff. But I just want to do something different. So I hope you enjoyed, maybe learned, maybe you could vent to me as you heard me vent. And yeah, if you haven't already, you should totally like, comment, and or subscribe. You could also watch me stream at Twitch at twitch.tv/thenerdysteve. And yeah, I hope you are having a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are, and thank you for watching. Bye.